financial situation I was in and the area I was in after 9/11, I started looking into, why this was happening, and the conspiracies, and one thing led to another. And space has always been interest of mine since I was a kid. And, it's kind of the domino effect, interest after interest. And it's always been a driving factor. Like, I always wanted to research more, and I'd find out one thing, and the dot would connect to another thing, and it'd go from there. So just one thing led to another, and,
Right.
um, so.
Right. And also I'm looking at, we're at this website right now and you're going to be putting in certain coordinates. If you could walk our audience through this so if they want to check this out themselves, they can do that. Where are we going?
All right. Well, we'll go to Stellarium, and you would just any observatory you'd want. But we're using the University of Maryland, so me and him both have the same screen, and we set the date over here in the left. It would see the date time window. You'd set it to
Okay.
9/23, 2017.
So we're looking in the future right now.
Yeah, it's this is just star charts. It's showing you where stars and objects in the sky, where they will be based on complex algorithms and math.
Oh, yeah, sure. Very cool. So you're
So,
putting the date in, and then we're going to go check out a certain area in the sky, and you found something pretty cool out there.
well, yeah, what basically what starts it is, yeah. What brought this search up was 9/23 last year. It was always 9/23. It was end of times, end of date, and started just looking that up in the Bible prophecy, this and that, and you can actually bring up the constellation art.
And for
It's
those that don't know you, Jason, you were bringing up earlier, you're not a religious person, but you found some good solid data and it connects also to these reference points. And I also have noticed it seems like every single year for the past at least 10 years, it's either March 23rd or September 23rd. The dates that they pick are specific on a yearly basis.
yes, yes, it's and you can go back to, I mean, whatever predictive programming and all this. They just it's blatant. 9/23 was supposed to be, the end times. And CERN, that's the date CERN actually hits, its full potential and gets the most luminosity. Like, that's what they measure, is the light given off, basically how many collisions are happening. That's the most power. It reaches that peak power on that date and then shuts down. So they have that scheduled years ahead of time, and that's the date each year. So that's another point to bring up. It's kind of odd.
Well,
So,
it certainly seems like things are orchestrated and they start at the stars. I mean, millionaires don't really look at star charts, billionaires do.
yeah, yeah. And they're the ones naming it. The elites are the ones naming these things. And if you really look into it, there's some really wild stuff out there. I mean, how to start this off is we'd have to go to Revelations chapter 12, and I pulled up a link of that, and you would just read it off how they read it. And a point I brought up to you is, at the time they did not have scientific terminology, so they had to use things that they knew. They had to use words that they knew, just like me and you. When I say, "Oh, it was kind of like you seen a rocket going into the sky or something," that's something that we both know, and I can explain to you, and you can picture in your mind. So you got to keep that in mind when you're reading the Bible when they're talking. But I'll read it verbatim from what it says. Revelations chapter 12. It says, "A great sign appeared in heaven: a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain, and she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven: an enormous red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns on its head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She
We
gave
lost you
birth
there.
to a male son, a male child who will rule all nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God." How long? What? When did you lose me?
That's okay. We just lost a couple of words there. You're back on. We're good.
All right, so I'll go back to it. It said she gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. Her child was snatched up to God and his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness and was in a place prepared to her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. And that's basically what we're looking at right there. So
So you break
if you
that down
just
into star charts and the actual planetary bodies.
you can just yeah, it's really blatant when you look at it and you know what they're talking about. So what you would just look for, and might add this, um, people speculate from different star charts, never happened before and will never happen again, only on September 23rd, 2017. Will all these align like this? So you kind of just you can fast forward the day through here. This is a little, you know, you can speed it up. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So this is pretty cool. You can put in any date you want right here, and
Yeah,
then okay.
I can show you something neat about that, like what your birth signal symbol was. Like, say, if you think you're a Taurus, you're probably a good chance you're actually an Aries. You know, it's the symbol that the sun rose through on the day of your birth, and it changes from year to year, day to day. And that's only an educated guess, you know, in the newspapers. So I thought I was a Taurus my whole life. I'm actually an Aries, and it made more sense when I read that. And I'm, like I said, I'm not a religious person. So we get to 923. I got to rewind it.
Well,
So
if
the,
you were religious, you'd get ostracized for talking about star charts. So
well, no, the Vatican owns a huge telescope. You know what I mean?
Lucifer.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is make the ground here go away, and you could just go to landscape with your sky and viewing options, and you can take the ground away. And all
You
right,
find it
that's
ironic that the Vatican named their telescope Lucifer?
it's not really ironic. It's the light bringer, right? It's
The illuminated one, yes.
yeah. So if you think
Sure.
about the whole thing, the literal translation, it's just ignorance. All right, what's going on here is you're looking at it basically, and this is the only time this happens. I don't know. There's like a little glitch going on, but the moon's right there. And when you look at this, the sun goes over is on our shoulder, but as sunrise happens that day, you can kind of progress it. Watch as the moon moves. It's under our feet, right? Speed it up just a little bit more. We're just waiting. And you'll see the moon here come appear once the sun comes up. And this is just like I said. Uh, right there it is. So there's sunrise at this from this perception. But the sun's literally clothing Virgo, the woman in the sky. And the moon's at her feet. So you can go back to that reference and pause it right there if you want. But this is the only time, and you can ask anybody, look it up, reference it for yourself. It's never happened before. Some Christians say that it's happened on September 11th, something, something BC, and that was the actual day Jesus was born. There's no solid evidence that I found of that, so that's your own interpretation. But when you're looking at it, if you go, I mean, right back to what we were talking about, you pull up the verse again, you look. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. So you just go back and look. And what you're realizing here is the constellation of Leo, and it has 9 major stars in it. And this is another marker point. This is another key point for the time. This is the signal of the time, and that's what the Bible was telling us here. Mercury, Mars, and Venus, all right, enter with the moon under Virgo, Jupiter in the middle section, the sun draping her over her and clothing her. All right. So this is the only time that there would be 12 stars, the Venus, Mars, Mercury, Leo, the 9 major stars in that, and the moon, Jupiter, and the sun. This is the only time all of those come down in a straight line like this over Virgo. Okay. And never again will it happen, says these star charts. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? To me, I mean, it seems like
So
well,
you're
this is
saying
definite.
2017 is I didn't mean to interrupt there. I'm sorry. You're saying
Yeah.
2017 is going to be the time when that's discussed in Revelations then, essentially.
The what? Yes. What chapter 12? Revelations chapter 12 said the first sign. This is the sign that appeared in heaven. They did when they say heaven. That's what they mean. They mean the sky.
Okay, and it's if you look at the title, The Woman and the Red Dragon. Okay, so then you also go back to ancient Oriental prophecies. and they also talk about the red dragon, and then the Hopi talk about the red Kachina.
All
So
right.
this very well, you could have just hit the nail on the head, possibly. I mean, I have to be as neutral as possible on this, but if what you're
Exactly.
describing is correct, then this could possibly be the date for Revelations 12. And if that's the case, it was exposed here first, Leak Project, folks, with Jason. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to see the cryptology there. You know what I mean? Like a sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with. I mean, it's telling you something. And for anything that you don't understand yet and you're skeptical about, we're getting to that part. You know, so it's a marker. It's giving us this. This is the time. That's what they're talking about. So that's the time. It's giving us a sign. And if this was planning a sign for us somehow, some divine knowledge ahead of time, and it was for us to be prepared for, then they knew that these star charts and these things, we would know this ahead of time if we paid attention, if we just listened to the warning, okay? And it's pretty blatant right there. But we're listening to the warning now from the earth when the earthquakes are happening and everything, you know, everybody's starting to freak out now. They're starting to pay more attention to this stuff, you know. They're starting to wake up and realize. And I mean, it's going to be too little too late if nobody does anything, you know. But the next point is it says she was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Now, in astrology, um, you can basically say the only time, and this is why you could say the only time, another marker for saying this was the only time, is Jupiter will cross through the legs. And if you say that in the constellation and astrology world, that means a pregnancy. And if you consider Jupiter being another star in the Virgo picture, you know, the Virgo constellation, it would give her a belly bump, you know. So she's about to burst, you know, it's the idea. So they were talking about astrology in the terms that they had at the time. And that's what they meant. And that's the only time you can consider Jupiter to be birthed. And why would you say it was Jupiter appearing as the sign instead of maybe Nibiru or a moon of Nibiru or anything, you know? Why am I saying that it was Jupiter? Okay. But this is why. So you go to the next, you can skip past the dragon just for a moment. And it says, she gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. All right. Now, anybody that can, I mean, you can do a basic search of Jupiter and find out it is literally like the male symbol. It is the symbol for a male, like the dominant male, and he ruled over nature with an iron scepter. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It literally that is where Jupiter. I mean, you can look it up. You can do all the research into Jupiter you want, and it's blatant that this is what they're talking about. All right, that was her child.
So
Virgo is the mother.
now let me
Jupiter.
jump in here real quick if I can. You,
Good.
if this causes the sky to become dark and a third of the stars to be flung down because the
Bullshit.
tell and such, what is this referring to?
Pole shift. Like this is referring to the pole shift. When it gets so close that it, you know, when you hold two magnets of the opposite polarity at each other or the same side, whatever you want to say, they'll either flip or pull together. You know what I mean? Depending on which side you have facing towards each other. So they're saying that we're going to be coming into contact with opposite, you know, polarity, and it's going to push it. Just as we seen 2 days ago, if you go to BP, Earthwatch, whatever it is, a real interesting guy there. We had a magnetic field shift. It actually reversed the opposite direction from the sun 2 days ago, April 23rd. It would be 3 days ago now. And it went the opposite direction. Everything, every piece of data that they have out on this, I mean, if you want to look up the video real quick for reference, like, it's amazing. It's telling us, these are the signs to look for. The earthquakes, that's the stress on the tectonic plates because a huge magnet's approaching us, okay? That's what it is. So when it's talking about this, Now, when you look in the Bible, there's, I'm just going to give you a rough estimate, maybe 14 times that they actually use numerology. All the other times, the words are written out for the letters or the numbers, all right? And if you actually look up in here, I'm pretty sure it shows us that before. It says, let me look here. 1,260 days, um, which if you count that out, that's September 11th,
Ah,
which is,
September 11th. What a
yeah, it
wonderful
comes
date.
out, yeah, it comes right out to September 11th. Um, and that's 42 weeks. There's another time it's referred to in the Bible that 42 weeks is referred to. Well, what I believe is when it's saying it took her away in the sky, like she's taken away and we don't see her for 42 days. It's just like a pole shift. You literally do not see her for those days. Maybe the rotation or whatever is being held up by the magnet going by us. That part of the earth, man, well, I would assume around Jerusalem, the Fertile Crescent, like I was saying to you, would be the perspective they're talking about. So it might not necessarily be on the other side of the globe that wouldn't see Virgo. So you got to keep those things in mind. But
Can we go back
um,
to the star chart again?
yeah, I'll gladly bring it back. Sorry, I forgot
No,
where I
no,
was.
not at all. That's great. You know, and I'm taking a look at this, and when you showed the way that it did go through the legs like that and the description, do you feel that Planet X is even real?
Yes, I know. I have it. I have some very compelling proof. I can actually show you the coordinates to Planet X, like right now, if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at it.
All right, I found these today. All right, the old uh, Google Sky. You remember that Google Sky,
They blacked out a
Nibiru,
bunch of it.
Nibiru. Yeah, that is
Oh, yeah.
literally it's this. It's it. That's it. And I can show you that right here. Bam. We're looking right at it. Now, this is the only point. I mean, you're from the picture standpoint of the Earth, you know, and you have 360 degrees all around the Earth. All right, you get the pictures of the stars in
It's
every
completely
direction,
blacked out. Look at that. Oh, my goodness.
and there it is. This is the coordinates. You can look right there in the bottom left, and how we can show you how they photoshopped it out and prove it. I mean, look, they cut stars in half. They
Look
cut
at
stars.
that, folks.
But all right, now what's compelling about this is there.
That's the Borg cube. That's what it is. It's not blacked out. That's just a giant Borg cube. And they're getting, that's the New Jerusalem right there.
This is
I'm
well,
just joking, man.
yeah, this is right here. That's the original Nibiru
Mm-hmm.
photo. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That's the good reference point of it,
Uh-huh.
right? That was the original one that NASA can admit and we can say was really a photo of the system. All right. Now, if you image search that image long enough, you'll find a German image that came up past 3 days, and it's only in the past 3 days. Okay. Because I search it every day. When you go to your filters, make sure if you search this stuff every day, you go to your filters, you search in the past day. You don't do the most views. You look at the least amount of views and the most recent, because anything credible was taken off there. Okay. Now this picture was disappearing. Every time you click it, it'd go away. Every time you click it, it would go away. Every time you click it, it would go away. But at the bottom of it, there's coordinates. Okay. And when I went to those coordinates, I typed them in up here, they wouldn't come in. I typed them in up here, and you search it, and just like I typed in the coordinates every other time, you'd go to it, but it wouldn't take you to this. Okay, it said error. And then when I said, okay, I'm going to learn how to coordinate and look around the Earth here, and I just took it and literally found the coordinates, from the mouse. It took me about 5-10 minutes, and there you go. This is, by the way, the only piece of blacked out information in Google Sky, which is a 360-degree view from the Earth at the stars. So they only left out one photo. Think about that.
And that is a large swath. I mean,
It matches the photo. I mean, perfectly, perfectly.
yeah.
It's if you want the thing, it would be.
But okay,
Which,
so let me jump in here real quick then. How often are these updated? Because if that image is taken
right, no,
out,
this
though, it
is-
wouldn't be there forever. I mean, it's obviously got to be on a
This
path.
is the selling point. Exactly what you're saying. These images are from 2007. All right, that image that I showed you, the original Nibiru image, 2007. Okay, so the coordinates on that original German photo from this, all right, from the telescope, is the coordinates, the location that this would be at this time that these pictures were taken, because these are all cataloged in 2007. Every one of them. That's the only reason that makes this credible, or the coordinates that I had would have been just stars and it would have moved from our perception and there'd have been another piece of blacked out sky at different coordinates. That's the only reason that adds a lot of credibility to this.
Where would it be now, though?
Really close to the sun. Basically what you'd call well, I guess the ecliptic. If you, we can, if you went to the Antarctic Observatory, that is why it's there. It's there to watch this. It's there to watch this come in. In the past, since the 19th, actually, if you don't mind, I could just type it in.
Please.
Let's see how it goes in. I'll just type in Nibiru for a second, just to make me happy. I got a lot of things going on. So, you can tell I watch a lot of this stuff. There's the Leak Project. Just kind of go within this week type stuff. But I believe it'll actually go to Dill Martin. I think that might be. This is
Dill Martin's got some good stuff too.
This is yeah, this guy actually took this full uninterrupted picture of the sun rising. And this is how you can, all you trolls and chills out there, okay? This gives you a time date stamp. It gives you, you know it's the South Pole Observatory. You can see things in reference. So if you want to, you can get on Google Earth, whatever you want, and reference this, the sunset and everything. And look at this, reference the object, and tell us the coordinates yourself. But here it is, it's rise. There's the sun setting off of it, reflecting in Antarctica. That is the object. And it's so late in the morning that you can see the timestamp here. As this thing sets, the sun's coming back up again. So it's at the point where the sun is almost always illuminating it from our viewpoint on the Earth, especially at the South Pole. So Australia and the South Pole have the best views.
That was a good video. I hadn't seen that one before.
They're taken off there. If you notice, there's 913 views. That's going to be taken off there. If it's not, too many people don't see it too fast, it'll be gone. The idea is for that discussion was to not look for the most views, guys. Look for the least amount of views, okay? That's how you're going to get the most credible stuff on if it's somebody that's amateur photographer or stealing something from a database, you know? They're not going to have as many views because their channels get shut down. Their stuff gets deleted. Yeah.
You know, and that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up too, for people to be aware of that kind of stuff. So if there's really a good way to keep things going, just hit those videos as fast as possible. Therefore, the numbers go up, and the algorithms and the supercomputer nano gremlins won't be able to take him down as quick.
And yeah, and don't forget about, you know, like comments. Just kind of make a comment here and there, and then if somebody comments back, you have those notifications that kind of lets you know if something disappears, you know?
Sure.
Kind of reminds you, like, whatever happened to that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it happen numerous times, but kind of getting off point there.
Hey, no worries. Yeah, so now you showed us the place where Nibiru was back in 2007 possibly, or something was there because they took away the real footage. And then we looked at the Revelations 12 where Jupiter goes through the legs of Virgo here, and that's possibly going to cause a pole shift and serious cataclysms.
Yep.
And when do you think that the planet X is going to get closest to Earth? Have you been able to find some star charts or something that will show that?
Well, what I think is the idea of the pole shift and all that, I think that kind of signifies between, all right, if you really look into these star charts, between September 23rd and October 11th is like, that's the sweet spot. That's the only time that any of these things are possible ever in history. So, and that's the only time. So you got to think that, all right, if on a rotation from something, you have a point where you kind of climax, all right, if you would, where you start from going away from something and start going towards it, or start going from being going towards it to going away from it again. You know what I mean? Because it's a rotation. So I imagine that between that time that it's discussing there, that's what's happening is we're getting locked like two magnets, you know, and just like two magnets spinning, you know, one the bigger the one holding it there, it would change the rotation while this other one's spinning around it, the sun. And then once it gets out past the sun, it would let go of us, and then we'd start rotating again naturally, you know. So it's been proven in the lava and everything like that. I mean, if you want to talk about the weird stuff like Prince dying and he was talking about chemtrails. I mean, he's talking about chemtrails for years, you know.
You
He
know, a few
wouldn't
years
sell.
ago, there was a Simpsons episode where he was actually, I don't know if he was killed or someone attempted to kill him, but I think that was back in 2008. So very
Yeah,
interesting.
predictive programming like we were talking about. So that's another idea. I mean, David Bowie, you look at that, that wasn't he wasn't killed because he was an insider. It was because he was an insider and he wanted to be with her. I think he was bugging out. I think he's one of those cases.
The
What did
Dark
he
Star was the name of his
Black
last
Star?
album.
Yeah, the Black Star. Did you watch that video? It's
Oh,
10.
well, I did. And also the one Lazarus that he came out with. That one was just, I'm telling you, David Bowie is in a class and league of his own. Whether you love him or hate him, I certainly thought he was an amazing individual. And man, rest in peace, David Bowie. Man, that guy was just
I
incredible.
think he
So
bugged out.
you think he's like, I'm getting out of here.
I seriously think, well, they have to. I mean, that's one of the big predictions is like a lot of these people had to get out of the public eye, you know what I mean? Or it's not gonna look, you know, it's just part of the image. Like this whole collapse, you know, it's all built up to this. Now, when you think about the statement, "He who controls the past controls the future." All right, think about that, man. They could literally write the history the whole time for a certain outcome that they wanted. You know what I mean? Just let it build up. You know what I mean? And then they have the facts twisted to how they want it. But now the time's coming that too much of this stuff's coming out. Too many people are awakening to the truth. You know, and we're starting to see the bigger picture. You know, and I totally believe that they're just trying to keep us near the coasts because anybody that's near the coast in the populated areas is going to have a bad time, okay? And if you're near sea level or below 1,000 feet, you know, then you're going to have a lot bad time. I totally believe that since we have so many mountain ranges in the American continent, that there'd be more landmass stretching if this thing jerked us real fast because our mountains are already compressed up. So it wouldn't be a sudden increase like from an impact. It'd be a sudden jerk. So it actually stretched the land, if anything. So the mountainous areas would be fine unless they're near populated areas because then those people are going to want to take your home. And then the serf, you know, slave, you know, upper class thing is justified by them just because it is. They already think they're better than us if they make more money than us anyways. You know what I mean? And that's just whether you like it or not, that's the way it is, you know? So
The world of corporatocracy.
yeah, it's not like this, oh, this thing's gonna hit us and we're all gonna die. There's gonna be a lot of bad things gonna happen. You know, the earth's gonna shake, you know, the things are gonna happen. And I totally believe that they planted, you know, this fake uh revelation, like this what's it called when they take you up to the sky? You know what I mean? What was that called? Do you understand what I mean?
When they take you up to the sky.
Yeah, in the Bible, what are they when the I don't know what the rapture. There you go.
Oh, you
Yeah.
referring to creating like
I
crying
think the
wolf too
rapture.
much, or you actually mean creating some type of fake? Okay, here's the carrot. It's at the end of the stick. If you just continue to follow these rules, at the end of your life, you're going to live happily ever after.
It kind of keep you from you know, awakening up spiritually, which would do other things to you. But I'm saying that the rapture, if you listen to some older people, wasn't taught back in the day. They didn't teach you. They told you to kind of put your spiritual armor on. They told you to, you know, Christian up, if anything, my term would be. And then they started talking about this rapture stuff later. And if you look at how the Bible's been edited and stuff like that, I feel like they do this for their own agenda. And what gets me is it puzzles me, is because you look about the Egyptians and Moses and the Hebrews, let my people go, and we know like the Ark of the Covenant and all that stuff, and the Egyptians' pyramids probably were, you know, power plants, you know, And if the Hebrews took that piece of, metal that was conducting a lot of the energy and resonance out of there, then they basically stole the battery. So if Ramses, and this is proven in history, if Ramses chased the Hebrews out, he just let them go. He let them go into the desert. And when you watch a lot of movies and stuff like that, they leave out the Ark of a Covenant. It's just the Hebrews leave Egypt, and then all of a sudden Ramses is chasing them with 8,000 men. All right, why? Why would you let somebody go and then chase them with 8,000 men? That doesn't make sense to me. There's falsity to that. Now, if you look at it elsewhere, it says that the Hebrews took the Ark of the Covenant, went, spread the Red Sea with it, and that's why Ramses chased them, is because they basically, Egyptian civilization as we know it would collapse as we know it did historically after Ramses. Everything changed dramatically. And it's all right when you look at that's Christ, that's the Christian religion that says this stuff, okay? And they overcame the Egyptians that were enslaved them for 400 years. Then why all this pyramid symbology? Why is the Christian church still a thing? Why is it still here if the Egyptian, we got it everywhere? This, some people could call like America New Egypt or something like that because of all the symbology that we have, the obelisks and the pyramids and, even our money in every way you look at it. I don't understand how they collaborate if they were like mortal enemies. You know what I mean? I feel like they infiltrated the church. This is all a setup. And I know that's going to make people upset is it to believe that, but I'm saying that there's truth in the Bible. They only changed so much because people would see it. You know what I mean? Say it's a translation. Oh, we translated it because that language is dead, or it was lost in translation. We had to update it, and then they take out things like the Book of Enoch, things like that, that show anything that shows that God was anything but an unexplained word like nature, anything that we couldn't explain, or was uh, gods with a lowercase g, like our
Like
creators.
demigods.
Yeah, something that created us in their image. And that's not hard to believe when we're looking at the cloning and all that. And just, I mean, the second and third chromosome in our DNA is welded together. If you look at monkey DNA, it literally has the same DNA, except those two pieces are separate. And we have that different amount of chromosomes, you know what I mean? That whatever it is, I'm guessing what, 46 is in us, maybe whatever. That difference is there. And that would be the huge thing from us evolving from monkeys. We have different numbers of chromosomes. It's just not possible. But if something came and, kind of welded those strands together, it eliminates the problem. And if you look at that, I guess they're called alleles and genes. If you look at that, it's very apparent that there's been tampering with our genetics. You can like date our race back like not
Lost you there.
that far.
Oh,
We're
not that far.
very very young, and it's almost impossible. I'm just saying we're
Is
very
that
young
really
as
what
a
you
race, and
think?
it's almost impossible.
Do you
Yeah,
really feel
the
that way?
DNA, our DNA, if you date it, you can date DNA. They date it back like as some of the youngest species on the planet.
Do you follow the Zechariah Sitchin Sumerian translations?
I haven't read all of them, but a lot of the knowledge, yeah, checks out. I will say that. And I will say this, because there is parts left untranslated, words that he couldn't figure out. And that is something that makes it very apparent. He didn't get to finish his work, you know. It was supposed to be, he was supposed to write those books, and somebody out there was supposed to fill in the blanks. And that's just how this works. That's why me and you are talking right now. That's why people are listening to this, you know. They're part of the domino effect, and that's just how it goes. They want to be a part of it. They need to hear their part, say their part, listen. And I mean, some of them will spread negativity and, you know, hate all they want,
Just human nature.
but that's, not the point of this. They're here listening to become educated. And a lot of the people, yeah, it's scared. They're scared. But
Right.
if there's anything you want me to point on or touch on or come to ask why I came to the conclusion, or, we can look back over the Revelation chapter or ask why or anything. Don't matter. Any
Sure.
questions?
How much time do you think we got left before?
In my opinion, that we're gonna start seeing things, in the sky if they don't start heavily chemtrailing and stuff like that. So if it's saying September is kind of when it's going to be close enough to do that, and the Earth kind of follows a big circle, that's just saying that that's the point that we're going to be. You could just look around August, September this year, probably be bad for earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, stuff like that. That'd be a very good sign. Um, Watch that magnetic flip what I was talking about, April 23rd. Um, just
Next year.
that's like the first time that's ever happened that I can recall ever. And that's a very good sign that something's coming at us that's, you know, at an angle from the sun, we could say.
Sure.
Not at this, just at an angle, we'll say.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, it's pretty crazy stuff, man.
We live in amazing times, man.
Yeah, it's exciting and scary at the same time. I feel like we need the change. This is the change, like your little quote there, like be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
That's inspiring on many levels. That speaks to people. It's you know, I don't know what else to say about it. But you can, like I said, just to show you, if you just look up original Nibiru satellite image, like it shows you. That's the image that we were showing you. And
Mm-hmm.
if you find through here, maybe not on because it's been refreshed. It's been refreshed for a little while, but you'll see usually when you click a image that's closer to it, you can find a solid image, and once you find that image, you can actually image search, through Bing and stuff like that with the image itself instead of keywords. So people need to start kind of doing that when they see pictures because I was trying to explain it to our buddy Steve, that there's people like trolls that are gonna contact their email address, okay, and send them false information, just hoping that he didn't go over it enough and put it out there just to destroy his credibility and to make him look stupid, okay? And I was trying to tell him this, he needed to check over it, maybe have a couple people read his emails, or not put it up there, in the format that he did, kind of present it and say, hey, can somebody look this up, see if it's legit? You know what I mean? So it doesn't ruin our credibility because I mean, that's something that's a turnoff point for some people. If they get, you know, belittled, they're gonna stop looking into it, and that's
Right.
a really good point.
Kind of spooks them a little bit. They feel like
Yeah,
they're, yeah, it's just a psychology thing. And you're right, man. People got to be very, I think, though, that unless you're new to it, a lot of these people are seasoned veterans and they know darn well about the trolls and stuff like that. They've gone through
yeah,
the
it's
trenches and been through boot camp.
you can actually look up the spending that each country has allotted for paid internet trolls, and that's millions of dollars for each country, man. It's crazy. You can look that stuff up.
Right.
It's Yeah, I'm serious. It's serious.
Oh, sure.
Those are
Doesn't I mean I've absolutely, man. I mean, and plus they use their psychology conditioning programs like the MK
Yeah.
Ultra stuff, the Tavistock. I'm very well versed in that avenue.
I appreciate your time. I really do, and I thank you for hearing me out and just keeping an open mind. And like you said, you have to stay neutral, but you can't lie. That the facts are pretty staggering there. I mean, I'm sure I left some of the stuff out, actually, But like you couldn't say one thing out of that Revelations thing that you couldn't really point out one part that doesn't make sense other than, you know, what it's telling us. It's telling us, this is going to happen. It's going to take her away in the sky. You can speculate what it's saying, but we don't know because it's just terminology. You know what I mean? It's giving us a warning, and it's definitely giving us a marker and a definite time because this isn't something that happens annually. This happened never, and it's happening once, and that's it. So that was really special point to me. And
Well,
the
I
Mercury, Venus, and all that being aligned with Leo, like that's the only time.
because nobody's ever really been able to put a date on Doom. It seems like anytime you put a date out there, it never hits.
Discredited, yeah.
No, really. I
And
mean,
like,
think about that for a
what
minute.
it's so weird though. Like, I understand what you're saying because to share this or even say something about it, it's you kind of feel. Well, I remember last year I had the feeling about that date, and I remember like discussing it with people, and it was weird that that date was like a trigger for me because I'm guessing predictive programming and stuff. I actually searched it multiple times, and if you searched it on Google Maps and still search it this day, it takes you